That was a that was an interesting 3 days there. Unfortunately, Bolt wasn't around for all the 3 days because you've got some pretty important stuff going on your IRL side of things. Uh, me, I'm just a degenerate armchair general. So the way that this worked was there were 3 days of testing, or was 3 days of testing, and then for me, it was from 5 a.m. to 2 p.m. and sometimes they would extend it to like 3 or 4 ish. So I ended up getting uh 31 games. I ended up playing 31 games of Broken Arrow, of the U.S. Special Forces, U.S. Stryker, Russian Motorized, and Russian Mechanized. And I think we're just going to break down our thoughts and our impressions with it. Bolt, overall, you had a couple of games at the top while I get the game started here. What were your overall thoughts? What are you thinking of the game?
So I didn't use I didn't use any of the new decks, but um in general, I enjoyed it, but there are some things that need some touching up upon. I think you'll agree with this a lot as well, but certain availability of certain units like artillery on the Russian side, I think that needs to be adjusted. I feel like the air power of Russia is very good, as in every plane can do everything and it's very strong. Um, I feel like Seed was a bit better than the previous beta. Well, this wasn't a beta, but I felt like it acted a bit better. But I don't know, I only did 2 games. Infantry play definitely feels better though. It feels stronger. It feels more useful.
True.
Armored columns had more trouble pushing through infantry. And helicopters. This is another good thing. They are shot down quite easily if there's a big missile hitting nearby it. In the first game we did, I had a LAVAD take down like 5 helis when they tried to do a rush. So I think they definitely adjusted some things in a good way. But the new things they added to the game still need some adjusting, which in my opinion makes a bit of sense. They just added it. Um, I think general feeling, I enjoyed it, but has some polishing to do. But yeah.
For sure. Um, on the chopper side of things, I
Hmm.
actually had a direct conversation with Felix, which you'll hear in one of my gameplays that I'll end up posting. He said they didn't change anything about the helicopters, and
Really?
yeah, and I'm convinced something's different. I was
Maybe it's
able
the
to get
splash.
good.
Maybe it's the splash damage of missiles nearby. Like stun damage
Well, I think it's
when they.
something about the aiming. The aiming and potentially like the turning. But you know what? We did a no here. We didn't even do the intro. And by we I mean me. So in case it wasn't obvious, in case you guys are interested, welcome to Debrief Podcast. Where Bolt and I talk everything Broken Arrow RTS, and as we mentioned there at the beginning, we did get mostly I did get 3 days, 3 mornings of playing Broken Arrow, and we've got the access to the game here with the decks and the single player and stuff. Did you play the single player yet?
No, no, but I'm gonna dive into that after this probably.
All right, Bolt is going to play the single player missions.
Oh yeah.
I played the single player missions on stream. Um, my first impressions of what units were available. My single player missions have been up on my channel for a few days now. And Bolt, you should play it on hard. Hard was actually
Hard. Okay.
they allowed you to choose the difficulty now, and it's pretty cool.
Oh, nice.
Um, so one of them is an infantry mission, and one of them is a U.S. airborne mission. So that's a pretty good setup. Very few vehicles, which we did get to do on the first ones. You posted those, right? Like the
Um,
did you do
I
that?
think I did, but
Okay.
honestly, no, I don't think I posted any single player content. So
Okay.
there will be a lot of that coming up.
Yeah. Uh, Single player is interesting. As far as I know, there's going to be lots of scenario and stuff like that. But I think
Yeah.
mostly this not. I think I know mostly what our discussion is about to be here is multiplayer related. Um, it was a solid first impression there. My initial impression is something that I've been struggling to really put in words because of the situation. So anybody that caught my stream right before I ended, I'm like, I'm gonna make sure that we get some good footage. So if I am playing against people that are press, if they're IGN or if they're content creators that haven't put as much time into the game, I'm gonna just basically probe and I'm gonna go easy on them. Assuming I end up posting my first several games, you guys will see what that equates to, which is just putting up some recon, putting up some units here and there, putting down some vehicles, getting some kills, but generally speaking, not going too hard. And I guess the playtesters that were on the opposite teams, most of the games, really wanted to show what the game could do, and they've been playing the game for weeks already, and they went immediately into the meta. And it was very strange. It was very strange for sure. And it turned out that most of the time, the people that I was going to go easy on ended up on my team. And not only that, but it seemed like there were a lot of times where people, they didn't use Discord. They had no want to communicate. It was quite literally, most of my gameplay is as if it was a public lobby where I'm playing solo. There is no talking. A lot of the people on my team don't know how to play the game. And if they do know how to play the game, it's not at the level that the playtesters on the other team were playing at. So you guys are going to really see what a struggle bus looks like for a lot of those games on my end of things. And we're going to get into the details of that. But first, we can just go through the decks. So this is what I think, and I've made maybe, what's that? If that's 10, I've probably made 50 decks in those 4 days. I probably made 50 decks and deleted the ones I didn't like, reshaped or shaped the ones I did, iterated on. And some of these are still just kind of like meh, maybe not. But I'm fairly sure that Stryker is the best US spec. Potentially.
Let me open it on my side as well. I'm gonna look.
Yeah,
at that.
for sure, do that. I think that Stryker is potentially the best spec in the game. It's for sure, in my opinion, the best US spec, Stryker. Then it just depends on what you end up putting with it. The Strikers seemed powerful. We talked about it a lot leading into this new test. They are. They can really take a punch. The APS does eat a lot. They are fast. They can bring some infantry up into the fight. They have solid ATGMs with the javelins. I should probably open it up on the screen. Where are we? So ignore that some of this deck up here says AAA US best maybe. I thought that this was, hence the maybe. I don't think that this is the actual best setup with Marine. I think the best setup is this that I have down here, which is the SF Stryker, and that's from
I got that one open as well now.
Yeah, and that's from
Crazy.
a carrying capacity, because as we'll talk about in a little bit here, this RQ170 is game changing. It very rarely gets seen, and when it does get seen, it's from a Russian plane. A Russian plane with the 12,000 view distance is really what you need to be able to see these. And if they don't get seen, even with just the 4,500, which is still pretty good, they're going to see Russian units. They're not going to know that they are seen. So you're going to see even S300s, because the AA can't, if they can't see it, they're not going to shoot it. And this is stealth.
Yeah.
So if this isn't spotted, it could be right above an S300 and it's not going to shoot at it. So you can get very close. You can spot those S300s, the bucks, the artillery pieces, even just chilling on their supply depots. And if you've got long range artillery like the HIMARS or like the MT70s from Armored, that's the counter. You're gonna kill those AA pieces or those artillery pieces. Did you end up making a?
I did. Yeah, I did make a Spec Ops Stryker combo. Exactly this one, the one you have open.
Okay.
But then we ended up playing as Russia in that one.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, but it looks really fun. Yeah, I mean I haven't played with it, but just the mobility of it combined with the Patriots, Shorads, the Centurion C-Ram, and the good helis, the B2 Spirit, and the stealth drone. Yeah, it's nuts.
Yeah.
I'm gonna enjoy this a lot, I think.
For sure. This is very fun.
Yeah.
What I believe we talked about before was we were worried about the lack of heavy armor. You kind of don't need it. These strikers, now if you go up against tanks,
Mm-hmm.
eventually you guys will see gameplay of strikers going up against tanks. They can eat a shot or two, but they are not tanks. And they're also not Bradleys either. There's a pretty significant difference. But the thing is while those tanks are shooting those shots, the javelins are going out at them. And generally speaking, if you pack two or three of these strikers together with their javelins, you can get 2 or less tanks, no matter the type, to back up. You can either kill them or hurt them enough to make them want to smoke and back up because of the amount of javelins that are going at them.
Yeah,
so,
that's the thing.
Yeah, so that's what I ended up doing is I ended up packing 2 or 3 javelin carrying strikers together, or Hellfire. Shorad would be back there somewhere. Shorad, amazing just in general. Shorad for the United States, better than the Bradley Shorad because you get stingers, and this
they're fast.
You're fast. You get APS. So for your frontline stuff, the Bradley doesn't get APS. And this 30mm cannon can engage incoming rounds and seed missiles and cruise missiles, and it's pretty effective at doing it. When a helicopter does get into range, you're going to have those Hellfires go at it. If it gets too close, or if you're hiding behind a building or something, they've also got 4 stingers to worry about. And then if they're right on top of you, the cannon obviously is there. But the dual threat of the Hellfire and stingers is pretty damn nice. It is just expensive. It's 240 points.
Yeah.
But what's also nice is you get 2,000 meter range with these stingers over here. They're pretty expensive, but they're pretty expensive, and unfortunately, you only get 1 stinger per team. So something that's obviously good is if you have more. So you don't get any of those teams where you can get 2 stingers. So you're going to have to double up. So minimum, we're talking 160, not including transports for these Ranger stingers, but they do get the 2,000 meter range. And when it comes to an infantry specific fight, they do have these 338 Lapua MGs, which can end up being pretty useful in that fight. What you do lose is extra javelins. So these guys can bring the longer range javelins, and I'm choosing not to in order to bring more stingers. Because in my opinion, I had enough with these strikers. And something that I don't think I realized, I don't know if I realized when we were diagnosing or when we were checking these out, or actually no, it wasn't a Wii yet, because this was when this released the other day. So this was the stream I put up where I didn't know that the Stryker troopers have javelins. They have 1. So again, but they only get 2 rounds. So ammunition is always awkward. It seems like there's just enough to, maybe you'll kill 1 vehicle. If it has APS, probably not. You're probably not killing that vehicle. You're gonna need supplies. And the playtesters that I was playing against, we would see a lot of them using these lighter vehicles, which I never have used, because I'm just like, they're gonna get in the way of a 50 cal. They're gonna get away in the way of a cannon or something like that. So what's the point? Lo and behold, one of those last games there, we were playing against the playtesters. I had open season on a lot of these open top vehicles with the BTR's cannon, the 30mm cannon that I had on BMPs at the time, but they were BTR 30mm cannons. They basically sneezed. Like they did not destroy these open top vehicles. So these things can really take a punch, for some reason. Even if if you just have them dead to rights, they really can take a punch.
I saw that, yeah.
Yeah.
That was kind of crazy.
So next availability to play, I'm going to rethink this quite a bit. I'm going to have several of those open top vehicles because of their speed to be able to get up to the front and reinforce with infantry, because one of the things that you were going to talk about here is infantry is much stronger. I don't
Yeah.
know exactly how much has changed, but the infantry game, as you guys will see with gameplay, is much stronger. And you did way more of that than I did. So what were you thinking?
Yeah, I think 80% of all my units were infantry in both of those games. I felt like infantry on infantry combat is stable, as in like one doesn't immediately delete the other one unless it's like a, a diehard ranger squad versus your two-man sniper team. Then yeah, it makes sense. But infantry on infantry combat felt a bit smoother. You could actually, longer fighting time, longer time to kill. They could actually retreat from very heavy fire. I felt like, I don't know if they changed anything, but I felt like in the previous betas, the moment they see a vehicle, they are gone, as in destroyed. Um, but against vehicles, they also are much more capable with their RPGs, with the better weapons they also added to the new US specs. Um, like the new Carl Gustav, etc., and the larger squad sizes.
The Maz, yep.
Yeah, the Moz. But so Bacon just told me that if a unit is gone, like an infantry unit, it doesn't reduce your income until it spawns. Is that true? But I don't know if that is.
Wait, well, that didn't make any sense actually. What? Say that again.
Like, when a unit, you call in a unit and that unit dies, until it respawns, it still has you still have a reduced income.
Correct.
I think, I don't know if it's true. We need to maybe dive into this, but I think they reduced that uh, debuff on your income after your unit dies. But I don't know. It felt like I could just call out more infantry. Like I always had a shit ton of infantry on
I'd
the
believe
field.
it. Yeah, based off of my gameplay,
Yeah,
I'd believe that was the case because there was just constant infantry everywhere. Constant.
exactly. I could just keep calling him out. Like I lost a couple, sure. My income was still good. I still had like 900 points. I called out 2 nukes that game. I mean, I got nuked myself and just immediately replenished the infantry. So it feels like infantry gameplay is viable. You're still very vulnerable to obviously, bombs and heavy vehicles, but
It's more than
you're
viable.
yeah, it's definitely more viable. I like it. And especially in an urban area with the amount of different, javelins and tow teams and all that. Um, Armor definitely has to think about it before moving in like we used to in the previous betas. You
Yep,
could just
I tried
charge
it
in
plenty.
there.
Go ahead.
Yeah, you could just charge in there, smoke the first wave, and then you're like up in their face anyway, so it doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, no, you
So no,
definitely
I
need
like it.
to.
I like infantry gameplay, so I like how it is now.
Yeah, you definitely need to. With the U.S. Special Forces, they're stealthier. So what happened to me a lot when I was playing against playtesters, and I tried doing the Doom stack, and I tried doing
Mm.
the heavy vehicles. Well, first off, they immediately would just have counters ready. So if I put vehicles to the point where I could call it, I could like bluff them at the end of the test, where I would take a few bookers and a few strikers and I'd start putting them down a road that I'm pretty sure that they can see down. And then just at a random moment, I would just put them in a tree line. And then next thing I know, for some reason, there's an SU-34 flying around in a circle over there. It's
Yeah.
over their lines right now. So I'm just like, oh, that's
Yeah.
interesting. And then I'd do it again, and then but only put 2 of the vehicles out, and then smoke one of them, and then kill the SU-34. And guess what? They had another one. So there's like a lot of like clear counters, and there's a lot of like specific metas and stuff like that that are in place for stuff like that. But infantry is much stronger now. And
Yeah.
if you are playing the US, you can get some very stealthy eyes out there and take advantage of that. So definitely suggest that you do that. And shoot, what was the other thing? Vehicle wise, it can become a real problem if you don't have a plan already set in place for how you're going to back up from that situation. So another significant issue is artillery. So what a lot of the playtesters were doing, if they did see vehicles pop up, they'd be engaging with the infantry, but then they would already have artillery shooting at the road behind you, so that you knew that you would back up once you see the infantry, but then there's artillery hitting you. And guess what? There's a lot of artillery.
Yeah.
Oh, on that subject, which we're bouncing around a lot right now, especially these last couple sentences, but JSOWs are significantly more dangerous. I had 2 JSOWs drop on 3 of my T15s at some point during one of those games, and they actually killed them. They actually,
shit,
it
okay.
actually killed them. So I don't know if there's an aspect of RNG in there. I don't know if it was one of the F-16. I genuinely didn't know if it was what dropped it. I think it was an F-16 because what would make sense if it was 4 of them. So
Right.
with this new Stryker Brigade, the Viper.
I don't have the F-16 because I have the B2 and the B-52 in there because I just want to use them, you know.
Yes. However,
But man,
go ahead.
it looks so good though. Nah, I'm just looking at your plane. I might take out a plane and put this one in.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that it was they put all 4 of these JSOWs on them, and it did kill them. I had them close enough together because they were hiding behind a building because it was this cityscape, just this. The horizon was nothing but javelin teams, so I was trying to hide them from the javelins, so that I could artillery smoke. Something I did a hell of a lot more this test, significantly more, is use artillery. You needed to.
Oh yeah,
You
I
needed
use a lot of
to.
smoke as well.
Yeah, you needed to. Previously, not so much. I used the smoke on my vehicles. I used APS. You'd end up being okay. But because of the amount of infantry and because of the amount of javelins that you get as SF, you need it. You need it. Absolutely. Go ahead.
Do you think the F-16 is even worth it if you can just get bombs with the F-35?
That is a crazy topic. Here's the thing: we have a lot of good topics that we could talk about today.
Yeah.
The crazy thing here is what about it? What about the total?
Is that yours? Okay, so the J's house cluster.
The DM that you sent me, is that because 10,000
yeah,
out of 10,000?
Like
okay, gotcha.
It's
Yeah,
like perfect 10k out of 10k. So good.
I got a little distracted with that, so I lost my train of thought. But
I'm just saying, like the F-35, you got stealth is 400 points. You get 2 JDAMs of 200 pounds each. F-16, you get 4 J's house, but it's 480 points. If you also get like some sidewinders, aim rams, ECM pods and stuff.
Right.
Is it worth it? You know.
So
with the reduced stealth,
it's difficult to say. So something that was happening was, as Russia, you have some insane shorad now. You have some insane shorad. The Panzer is fantastic. If you team it up with something else that has the like the Beryusa, even if it's just yourself, or if you team up with a buddy, Panzers and Beryusas are going to stop vast majority of things.
Right.
Unless, I mean, obviously there can be an overwhelm situation, especially with the F-16s. There could be an overwhelm situation. Quick diversion here. Anti-overkill does not work with seed. So at most, according to FLX, at most, even though this is something I extremely disagree with, because if there is going to be a moment when you really want something to actually just get pounded into the dirt and send all of your missiles, fire everything, fire all the guns at that man, it's with seed missiles going at the fucking AA. You wanted to, I'm trying to kill this AA. I don't want to be like, are you dead yet?
I had that.
Are you dead yet? Oh, I guess I'll shoot again. Are you dead yet? No, fucking fire everything. Kill that motherfucker so that I can actually bomb something. That's the thing. So seed missiles can be weird, and I did plenty of testing at a actual team stack of playtesters that have a proper AA net with their S300s, which also the new S300, while we're on the subject, does have very good range, almost as much as the big missiles for the old S300, but you get 4 of them. So, and you can't stack them together. So you can have a deck where you have 4 of these. They don't have an ability to have a Panzer or a Beryus in front of them, but they can have OSAs, which are somewhat cheaper, and they can intercept missiles. But missiles can get through. If you can overwhelm it potentially easier with the F-16s. Just the thing is that sometimes it doesn't work, and guess what? The F-16s have very little fuel, and they're probably going to die. So if there's 2 Russians, which I won't go too deep into this, but I'm going to bring this up later. If there's 2 Russian players on a team that have this deck, which is a freaking fantastic deck and also super annoying because of the smirches and the grads, the incendiary grads, the Russian artillery is insanely annoying right now because of the new specs. Yeah. Because of the smirches and because of the grads, that's annoying. But this is also a fantastic deck because you get T-15s, you get the T-90s, you get the T-14s, you get S-300s, more than usual, and they're actually really good. you get really good artillery, and I mean, because it's armored, you still get really good shore ad with the Cessna, and you get great infantry too if you wanted it. Just with me and my playstyle, I didn't. Overall, this is a very, very solid deck, and the very solid ability or capability with this deck, which is the Russian armored. Shoot, I forget if this is mechanized or motorized with the two. I think it's moto. It is motorized. So Russian armored motorized gets you some pretty crazy ability capabilities, and then the other one is hence the name Arty. Russian armored mechanized. You have the 6 Malkas, the 6 Tolpans, up to 4 TOS 1As. You get the Panzer, you get the S300s, and you get Bucks, which Bucks, if you keep the radars off, are actually, because they're less range, but even if you keep the radars off, you can put them up on the front line. These did very well at engaging planes that were above them with the radar turned off. Very well. You just have a bit of a supply issue because it's just these ground vehicles that have the supplies. You have no helicopters, and this SU-27, you don't get the R-37s, but you do get the 12,000 meter range. I completely forgot what made me go into this. The seed capabilities. So there are situations where is it? Well, you can even see the title of this deck is Stealth Bomb with Seed. So there are situations where I've had playtesters come at me with 4+ of these quad stacked harm F-16s, and it seemed like all they needed were 2, and they would kill a Panzer. So I don't understand that when there's other situations where I've seen multiple F-16s come in, and the Panzers had no problem whatsoever. So before we go too far, microing your AA, your radar AA, is absolutely back. Previous test, you could put the pivads in front of it. You didn't really need to worry about it too much. And you know what? Hey, you're making them think that they have a chance. So you know what? Let them do a seed. Let them do a seed run. That was absolutely. I tested that a lot this one, but that was absolutely my mindset. Previous tests were like, I'm just gonna shoot those seed missiles down, and that's a waste of points for them. So just you know what? Fuck it. I'll just leave it on. This time around, no. You are absolutely gonna want to do control whatever you want to do. Set your radar AA to something so that you can quickly micro it. You can quickly turn it on and off.
I microed a lot. It just had to be done.
Yes. And that is definitely something that they would have wanted. I actually didn't ask Felix directly, but when you take into consideration all the ballistic missiles, all of the cruise missiles, all of the things that radar AA can just negate, that's definitely something that they would have wanted you to do. They would want you to, at some point, have your radar turned off so that those things can get through and they can actually do what they wanted to do with those units in the game. So that is a thing. You're going to want to micro. If you want to YOLO it because you have enough and because it's so cheap, sure, go for it. But when it comes to the US seed, just so many situations, unless you really, really overwhelmed them, it's just not efficient to send even 2 quad stacked harm F-16s at targets, because if they, I think I was looking at maybe 4 different kinds of S300s and like a couple of Pantsers. There was like a Pantser here, a Pantser there, and then like a Beryusa across like a 2,000 or like a 2 kilometer like kind of like a angle off in the distance. None of those seed missiles would get through. None of them. But you want to know what did get through? You want to know what did get through, Bolt?
What got
Something
through?
that you alluded to before? The American stealth planes. Oh. So, yeah.
We only see them when they're on top and already dropped the bombs.
Exactly.
Kind of stuff.
A good player, if you're playing Russia, you'll make sure that you have, so I'll show you over here one of these. So for 220 points, 12,000 meter range with these MiG-29s, you've only got 2 R-77s, but that's not what it's there to do. It's specifically out there to spot drones and to spot stealth. If you are Russia and you do not have something that can efficiently spot incoming air, U.S. Special Forces is going to annihilate you. absolutely annihilate you because you're not going to see those bombs coming in. And I did it a lot. So what was extremely effective is putting bombs on the Raptor instead of the JADAMs, putting bombs on the F-35 instead of more AMRAAMs or other than JSOWs or something like that. But something that I constantly debated with in my head during these tests was whether or not I wanted JDAMs or JSOWs. So like big
I
HE
had
bombs or
JDAMs on
JSOWs.
mine.
Because of the effectiveness of the 2,000 pounders, most of the time it was fine. You'd kill armadas. There was a couple of times where if they kept those armadas still and I could see them with the drone or I could see them with my stealthy recon, guess what? A couple of 2,000 pounders to the face, that will kill an armada, especially if you could laze them. Lasing is extremely powerful. So it's a bit weird that the most successful way, and I don't care what the devs say, they're gonna. It seemed there was a pretty reoccurring factor that whenever I'd bring up like, I don't know, this kind of gameplay is weird that this happens this way. They're like, well, you see, then there's this other thing. It seemed like whenever I had any kind of feedback or for anything, they had a reasoning behind it, which made sense on paper. But when I just spent 4 hours of games doing the thing that they said should work and it just doesn't, what is the point? what's the? Well, I don't understand it. I personally don't. So I think that there's some gaps in some things, which I need to fully get my thoughts together because at the end of the day, when it comes to like my opinion of the test and things like that, I'm saying that I'm worried of this at the state of multiplayer. I'm worried about the state of multiplayer, but it's a strong word. I just can't find a different, more a more proper word to describe it because I was playing against playtesters that had already been playing for weeks and were already doing the meta and they wanted to beat YouTubers and stuff like that. A couple of them definitely wanted to specifically beat me. There's a couple of games that I'm just like, this is very weird that I have 4 different people bombing and artillery me right now and also throwing tanks down my throat. So when I'm sitting here trying to get the Guardian to work, or when I'm sitting here trying to see how much the stealth actually works on the Comanche, and the next thing I know, I'm getting spammed by 4 people.
Yeah,
so
there it is.
Yeah, it was interesting. So there's definitely balance in the game. It's there. Whether you make it work or not is the gameplay. But there's some very specific things that if you are playing Russia, if you do these things, that is a winning strategy. If you are playing the United States, you need to not only do the thing that is the winning strategy for the US, but you need to stop Russia from doing their winning strategy when Russia doesn't need to do that in return. I'm convinced that's the reality. Does that make sense, or should I rephrase it?
No, that makes sense, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, just like we saw in our last game when we started to do what we should do, we just started winning in like 5 minutes.
Yes, and we were playing as Russia.
Yeah.
So Russia Russia is just a matter of time because you can call out few units, you can float points, and then you can buy the things that will put you in the winning position. The US, you need to do that, but you have to stop Russia from doing that. You have to stop Russia from doing. So it's a much more difficult.
Snowballs otherwise. It's really difficult to even come back from it.
Yeah, that is it. It's the snowball. So it's Russia can bring way more artillery and at times deadlier. It's actually in comparison, the M270s and the HIMARS that you can get with the US are definitely better. But you either get it with the US or you get it with Stryker. If you have too few people doing it, you got a problem. So absolute vital. You have HIMARS. Somebody on your team, hopefully 2 people, if not more, have access to HIMARS, have access to M270s. If you're playing the United States, if none of you have HIMARS or M270s, I'd go as far as saying that you have almost no chance of winning against proper Russian players. Because you're just not going to be able to counter their AA. You're not going to be able to effectively counter their artillery. You're just not. I played 31 games, a lot of them against playtesters. A lot of them wanted to play Russia. Even there were some instances where I was like, oh yeah, no, try your hardest, do your best, and then they would say, well, then let me play Russia. They couldn't be more obvious. They couldn't. They could not. About that's the situation. Like that's the actual setup.
Did you notice as when you were playing America that you could counter them on your
You
own, or
absolutely
do you
can.
like need the entire team to do that though?
Like I said, you absolutely can.
Yeah.
And if they realize that you're the whatever the opposite whatever the opposite of the weakest link is, once if they realize that you're the strongest link, like you are the one that's putting up the drones to spot their AA and then high marsing it, or getting close enough with your self-propelled to get it, or you're the only one that's effectively using your own Patriots to try and engage stuff or whatever. If they realize that, then they can stomp you out pretty easily.
Right.
Because they can just
get targeted.
Yeah, because they can just, if you send a bunch of tanks at, like, there's gameplay involved. It's not like this is and this is why I was struggling to talk about this stuff. Mm-hmm. There's gameplay involved. It's not like it's a win button. You need to click the buttons at the right time, and you also need to be careful not to lose the units that you've put out there so that you can properly snowball.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's just that as the US, like I said, not only do you need to do that, you need to snowball your HIMARS. You need to snowball your amount of strikers so that you can effectively push because they're not tanks. You need to continuously get those RQ-170s up so that you can spot stuff for your teammates, and hopefully they're doing the right thing. You need to sneak your stealthier recon teams up to be able to spot that so that you don't need to worry about the RQ-170 so that they stop getting shot down and you stop wasting 150 points. You know,
right.
And if they try to chopper rush you, you need to make sure that you have the short. Like, there's things that you need to do so that you can snowball and go forward. The US's snowball and go forward is, I mean, it's warfare. It's you get vehicles and you get infantry to get to the points. They're the gritty grinders. You get your vehicles, you get on the point. You get your vehicles, you get your infantry, you make sure they're properly supported with AA and reconnaissance, and you are able to just grind your way to the point. The US can do that, especially with how effective the infantry are now. You absolutely can do that, and that is the winning strategy. With Russia, you do it a little bit less effectively, but your artillery and your AA and your air power is overwhelming because of the trio that you have there. So the snowball for Russia, if we'll move over to this topic, I guess what time we got here? Yeah, we got 37 minutes. So we'll switch over. So the snowball for Russia, the winning strategy for Russia. Where should I start here? Is air power is dominant in this game. Realistically, that's
for sure.
That makes sense. Like air is where you win the game. Or correction.
You just need the air. If you control the air, you're good everywhere else.
Yeah, it's not you literally can't win in the air, but you know what I mean. Air is where it's the door. It's the doorway to winning. So you control the air, bomb stuff, you're going to get through. You're going to get your units on the ground, you're going to get those points, and you're going to win. The Russians they now have 4 of the top tier SAMs in the game. Absolute top tier. You get those S-300s down, you get them behind the line. Even if they are alone, with the 2 missiles you get on these and the 4 missiles you get on these, they can already effectively, like we mentioned before, counter seed themselves. But the OSAs at 130 points can do the same. You want to know what the price is? Actually, no. Just go ahead and just say, what's the price of the Patriots?
200 plus, even more, I think, right?
They are. Hold on, let me stack up your Patriot to the most. And also, something we didn't cover with those Patriots, too. Look at what happens when you put the most missiles on the Patriots, which I didn't realize until late in the stream the other day. Here.
Spec Ops, Patriot Pack 3. Yeah, 305 points without self-defense weapons. Yeah, that's nuts.
So when you look
at the Pack 3, yeah, that's crazy.
So when you look at the actual effectiveness between the middle amount of missiles and the maximum amount of missiles, look at what you can do per target and multi-target. It increases.
Oh.
So you actually don't have the most effective that unit can be unless you take the most missiles.
Yeah.
It's the same for both it's the same for both of the new pack 3s. So you do not have the most effective unit unless you bring the 300 points. They're going to be 300
just
points.
Need to go for it. That's That's a bit rough.
And then minimum you've got 255 for the MSC, which is the longest distance one. So sure, you can miss out on that, but if you're playing people that know what they're doing, they're going to keep air spamming you, and they're going to get through it anyway. Because guess what? Russia also has more with more effective seed missiles. So going back to that deck over here, where are we?
You just need the double missiles. There's no other way.
So you've got the longer, more effective, one-shot heavy S300. These love to one-shot planes. Everything. They one-shot a lot. The thing with planes with high ECMs and the stealths and stuff like that is they can do near misses. There's a lot of like fancier stuff that can pop up, so it's not always.
I feel like that's definitely been maybe fine-tuned a bit, but
yeah, it's not gonna happen always. You got your flares, you got your ECM.
For sure.
But the snowball we've been talking about, going back to this topic, is you've got your longer range, more effective, cheaper SAM missiles in the back. You put those up, you have good air defense. What's the US counter? They have seed, it's less effective, and it's, there's ways that you can get around it. So if the US doesn't bring good enough seed, like if they don't have spam-able seed, they need to use artillery. And they need to be in range. Those are the counters. That's the gameplay involved. So to counter this, so that you can use your planes as the United States, which are, generally speaking, more effective at ground support with their bombs and their stealth and their ATGMs. You have the A-10, you got the Spooky, you got all those, the cruise missiles, all that stuff. Really, really actually good support, and your only chance of shooting down those stealth is with these S300. Like, you need AA. You probably need AA.
Yeah.
So the counter is, to get into there, because your seed is less effective, is US artillery. That is the counter.
Pretty much. That's all you got. You need to use that.
The US artillery in question, because it needs to be able to reach and hit those, are the HIMARS. And where's my party deck? And the M270s. If nobody on your team is armored, US armored, or US Stryker, because the HIMARS is in Stryker, I'd go as far as saying that you're unlikely to win that game. And you're playing somebody that's playing Russia that is properly set up, it's unlikely that you win that game. And that is just from the AA. That is just from the AA. Another potential, not potentially, another, what's it called? Counter. The stealth capabilities of the US. So that's phase one of Russia's snowball, is you get your S-300s down. And also, just to keep in mind too, it's not like there's nothing happening on the front line. During this entire time, the gameplay involved on the front line is you need to be pushing with vehicles, you need to be pushing with infantry. The thing is,
as hard as you can too.
Yeah, the thing is though, that there's 5 people on a team, and you get a benefit from floating points and waiting. So if you don't even go and take points in phase 1, maybe even in phase 2, if you kind of let the game plateau into phase 2, by phase 3, if you have 2 people floating on Russians, mid phase 2, if you have 2 people floating on Russia, barely using any units, maybe just using a little bit of air power, it's a guarantee.
That's kind of it.
You're going to have the S-300s. You're going to have the Smirches. You're going to have the Grads. And you're going to have a bunch of T-15s and tanks along with it. You're going to have that. So what the U.S. needs to do is, like I was mentioning earlier, is not only do you need to do your thing, but you need to stop that from happening. So you need to be pushing so hard that they need to spend those points. They need to go forward. So that's the gameplay.
We've had this with other RTS games as well, where if you don't push, you know what's going to happen. You're going to get artied, you're going to get bombed, right?
Absolutely.
So if you don't force them to buy what you want them to buy, you're gonna get punished. So you need to keep the pressure up. Otherwise, they're gonna be able to overspend on artillery, overspend on anti-air, overspend on planes because you're not pushing on the ground anyways. So why should they buy ground units? So
Absolutely that.
it kind of comes down to you trying to force them to play the way that you can counter it, and I think that's quite difficult for newer RTS gamers to do.
It's impossible. It seems. It
Yeah.
seems almost impossible.
If you've never played any RTS like Wargame or any like I don't know even Steel Division or any RTS that is real time, yeah, you're gonna have a hard time because if you don't push the enemy, they will just be able to float 2,000 points, and if you don't do a push, they can just buy 5 planes and delete everything.
Yes, and you are
So-
exactly on point with where I was going to go with that, because even if it sounds like it's frustrating, I'm talking with a frustrated voice right now because I played 31 games or whatever it was, where at least 15 or 16 of them I was playing against people that were doing this, and there was nothing I could do about it because my teammates did not. There was I don't know if I had an IGN guy on my team, but there were. This is great. Everybody play the game that you want to play. It's just that because of the way that this event was set up, there were people that just they were not the same caliber as these playtesters, or sometimes they were like the content creators, not speaking English, not really know what's going on. Extremely frustrating amount of time when I've been waiting 4 months to play this game. So I might be talking with frustration, but it's not like a frustrating thing because this is what you want. You want the gameplay. You want the counters. They're there. But like you were just mentioning before, the newer gamer thing, this is not obvious. There is nothing that tells you this is the case or that makes it clear that this is it. You're wasting your time if you don't pay attention to these things. We've got the tutorial there that says, "Hey, this is how you do a seed missile. This is how WASD, this is how your vehicle goes here, and this is the infantry unit. They have guns. They have an ATGM. ATGMs kill tanks. Whatever. Blah blah blah. AA, turn the radar on. Blah blah blah." It does not tell you that you need to counter specific things in a specific way. There's the gameplay tendencies as the US with this spec, as Russia with this spec. And there is absolutely nothing that teaches you anything along the way at all about proper reconnaissance, whether you are being seen or not. That's definitely the biggest one. People are just like, why are my stuff dying? Because there's recon in that tree line. You just don't know where how can I find them? Well, you got to get recon of yourself. How'd I get that without surviving? There's nothing to teach you any of that unless you've got thousands of hours in Wargame beforehand. But there's not, because nobody has that. Most people aren't having that because for some reason this is the one that blew up. This is the one that's number 27 and might even be higher now on Steam in terms of wish lists. And there's all the people that are brand new to PC gaming in general since COVID that think that this game is cool and want to get into it. I've got Arma people. I just had a very large Arma content creator who played Steel Division before, but hasn't really touched anything else. They liked Steel Division and they're like, what's this Broken Arrow thing? And now they're hooked. And I emailed the guy to see if I can get them access to the single player so they could play. But they're going to play Broken Arrow with us when it actually releases. They're super interested in this stuff. And guess what? They're not going to know anything about getting proper reconnaissance in there, getting proper AA in there, and all that stuff. So I'm going to take it to my deathbed, apparently, at this point. I think that this is an amazing game. There is balance there. But there needs to be something to hold people's hand a little bit at the beginning, or to help people, newer players, understand that this is the way that the game needs to be played. You need to do certain things. You don't need to do it perfectly every single time. There's gameplay involved. But we literally just played 3 days in a row with hand in hand content creators and press with developers and playtesters. And the amount of times that they were like something simple as, this is a stupid example, but they're like, oh, you can turn radar on for this unit and it makes it more effective? Oh, I didn't even realize that. Oh, actually, you know what? Perfect example. I learned something myself here. Planes that have ATGMs, if you self-laze, they will work like they did in Wargame. You can just fly. You don't need to do strafe runs. I had no idea the past two. I found that out in the middle of this test. So Su-25s, A-10s, F-16s, anything with Mavericks, anything with ATGMs, air-to-ground ATGMs, you can just fly it across the
Mhm.
front line, and if something is lasing a target, it will auto engage with those ATGMs.
That is pretty cool.
That it completely
I
changes
like
that
that.
unit for me. Yeah, it's fantastic. How am I this expert in this game and I had no idea that existed until 250 hours in?
'Cause
Or
no one says anything.
no, it's not
Like,
there. They need more information. There needs to be more.
yeah.
Also, Bolt, did you know that if you have the proper air-to-air missiles, you can tell that missile once it's fired to engage a different target by
I had
right-clicking?
no idea.
What the
No
fuck?
clue.
What? Nobody had any idea.
What in the Doctor Strange missiles are we talking about? Which one is that?
All right, let me pull this up.
Is it like any of them? Any radar missile or semi-active or infrared?
Verbatim. Let me go see if I can find this.
I mean, that's kind of cool, actually.
Oh, it's amazing. The functionality of this game is insane. They're not talking to people correctly. There needs to be more
Imagine you fire a
info out
missile
there.
to a plane and that player just panic evacs that plane. You just target a different one that was nearby.
So this was in the chat. This was in the public Broken Arrow chat. I have a this is just a screenshot here. Somebody mentioned the retargeting from AA is so cracked. LMAO. I just saw an S-300 missile fly over an evacing F-16 and it lost sight and instantly retargeted. ... Here's one of the devs. Oh, I forgot to mention. This is the actual. I'm not making this up. They said, oh, I forgot to mention that you can actually manually retarget missiles via right mouse button if seeker is in proper state.
What the hell?
That's a thing. How are we this smart? Wait, how are we this far into the game and we still don't know? And this is, and we're, I'm for sure am. I'm fucking insane about this game. I'm all over it. What the fuck? So how much other stuff is there that we're missing?
Did you know you can turn a mortar into a nuke?
Yeah, it's like, so, here we are going on tangent after tangent, and we've only just discussed the fact that, Russia gets cheaper, better SAM missile. Cheaper, most of the time, longer range. Actually, no, generally speaking, no, this is because isn't the Patriot like 43 or something? What's the PAC-2? PAC-2's not even 43, it's 4. So both S-300s get better range, in some cases, significantly better range than our longest range SAM as the US. We only get 2 of them, they get 4. So there's that. I'm going to finish my thought here with this because there's so many different things that we can go into because make sure that the information is out here. So what I'm explaining here and what I'll continue to explain is the winning strategy. Like if you do this as Russia, you will win. And then I'll go over if you do this as the United States, you will win. The gameplay involved here is stopping that. So you as the United States need to stop Russia. You as Russia need to find a way to get to this point. Whether that's the right way of doing this or not is a different discussion for another day, because the fact that U.S. needs to intervene, it's like a ticking time bomb. Russia's a ticking time bomb. If you let them build up, they're going to win. Whether that's the proper thing to do or not, I don't know. But anyway, let's continue. So S-300 on the ground as Russia. You now have proper control of the air. What's the U.S.'s counter? Artillery and seed and bombs, just to go at the AA. Bombs are inefficient, of course, because you'll probably lose the plane if you send it out. Stealth can make it through. We'll talk about that later. In order to counter that, you get eyes up with drones, and you'll be able to see the stealth with planes. So as we go up into the air, we've got the long view distance planes, which you can do a bit of yourself with a deck that have these S-300s. With this MiG-29 because it's got the 12,000. But we go on to the next tier with Russia, which is their air power. The significant winning strategy with Russia in the air is the fact that they have so many things that have R-37s, which are the longest range missile that you can get. And the view distance. And with the Su-57, in the case of the Su-57 here, you got stealth. So you can get these 4 Su-35s with 4 R-37s, which are the longest range, high ECM with the 20, high speed, high view distance. You put the S-300s on the ground. You put the Su-35s above them. You are almost guaranteed to kill anything that is trying to seed at you. Obviously, there's gameplay involved with that. You can spam. Why do I always forget the names? The Prowlers. The seed missiles, they might get through. You can spam the F-16s. Seed missiles, they might get through. But guess what's happening? You're probably losing all those planes when you do it, if you do it against somebody that is built up as Russia. So that's what we've been talking about. If you let them build up, it's a problem. So you need to stop them from building up. But you put out 2 S-300s, you put out 1 Su-35 above it, and you're pretty much halfway there. I mean, as we're looking at it right here, this is 8 seed missiles at faster pace with higher ECM with Russia. One of them carrying those long-range R-37s with the pack. I keep wanting to call it pack, Su-57. So that's stage 2. So S-300s, planes with high view distance and high with the long-range missiles, sometimes even their own seed missiles to counter their AA to stop you from putting your planes up at the same time. That's stage 2. Stage 3, which is the final stage, is the artillery. The only counters for artillery, because you lack what's it called? Direct fire. That's why you call artillery indirect fire. Yeah. The only ways that you can counter artillery is artillery and air power. With what you have as Russia, with those S-300s and those planes in the air, you're not going to get your planes through. And on top of that, if somebody properly micros their artillery as Russia, you're not going to hit it anyway.
Artillery is as Russia, for the price and how low risk artillery in general is, it's very difficult to counter, even if you have artillery yourself. Because, you can just micro it, just, attack position, right click somewhere to move it. Exactly. I think I lost 1 artillery piece that entire game we did yesterday, and it was just like a small mortar as well.
Yep. You don't, I mean, obviously there's playtesters that they'll shift, click, shoot 2 rounds, shift, click, shoot 2 rounds. You can do that until you run out of ammunition. And that is the winning strategy again, or that's the final thing, because that's their AA gone. You do own the sky after that point. They can continue to call out planes, but that's just wasting points for them at that point. Yeah. That is, you now win as Russia. You artillery anything that moves, or anything that's preferably that's not moving, starting with supply depots. And then you find their AA, which is going to be easy because you're going to have planes up and you're going to be seeding themselves. You'll be seeding yourself. So once you find it, you hit the long-range Malkas, or you hit the, where is it? Smirches that have 5,600 meter range. And they only need to shoot, if it's these cluster, you only need to shoot a couple. You're gonna knock out the supply depot, and you're probably gonna kill the unit with just shooting 2. You can carry 12, and you can have 2 of these. Any infantry that you have up, you incendiary rocket with the grad, or you napalm with planes because you own the air. And it's just tic-tac-toe at that point. You're gonna move forward. That is Russia's winning strategy. S-300s on the ground, Su-35s above. Once you have that net down, artillery, push them out. That is what you should be trying to do as Russia. There's loads of gameplay that can get in the way. Loads. You put your S-300 in the wrong tree line, 1 B-2 got through, it dropped a nuke, it killed 2 of your friends, pretty much full front lines. That's gameplay. There's RNG involved with that. There's you letting up, there's you clicking the incorrect buttons at the right time, or clicking the right buttons at the incorrect time. There's gameplay involved with that. So it's, at the end of the day, you still need to play the game through it. But that is definitionally, whatever, if that's the right word, that is the winning strategy for Russia. You got something you want to add, and I can just get into the US, or what do you think about that? Do you think that's a problem? Let's do it. Let's say that.
I think it can be fixed quite easily. Yeah, I do agree it's a problem. So I think in terms of how it should then be is just less availability. That's it. And maybe just price balancing across US and Russia with artillery. Because artillery is low risk, high reward. Counter could be planes, but planes are high risk, relatively low reward, because the artillery unit you're targeting is low points, right? Low cost. So there's a bit of an imbalance there. But we can move over to Russia if you want. Like, yeah, look at it. Tulpan, Malkas, Smirches, you have so much.
Look at this deck. And this isn't even like, this is, I was trying to have a usable deck. If you team stack, something that's completely, we haven't even,
it's crazy.
If you team stack, you have 4 of your friends in a Discord call, and you literally say, hey, Jimmy and Johnny, you guys just don't even worry about AA, because Steve and Nick, they'll worry about AA while they're pushing. So don't even worry about putting AA in your deck. Just put artillery and supplies. So you'll bring our supplies
between you guys.
Yeah, exactly. Like you just, and also this is the other thing too, which has a little bit better range too. But you don't even need it. You can just go with the, even though it's 2200, this thing's absolute just slaughterhouse. These things are crazy. And not to mention you got the TOS one too there. And you get S300s, and you get Pantsir, and you get Armadas and T15s. And this is a crazy deck. Obviously you don't have helicopters, so you're gonna need help with recon. So again, with everything that's imbalanced, there's balance, because you don't get, like on paper, you don't get helicopters, but guess what? Your buddy next to you, especially if you're in a Discord call, does. So you can work that out, which is probably, like, that's cool. They're balancing the game for 5. So I'm going to keep going in circles here, because it's like, there's gameplay involved. It's not like this is an off switch, and it's not like something is like
exactly.
In and of itself unbalanced. It's not like it is. It's just that when you take into account, again, there's 4 other people with you, and the insane difference in gameplay that you're going to have between if you play with 4 people in a Discord call and somebody that doesn't. Bonkers. Just bonkers. Not to mention, again, going back to, none of this is said anywhere. You're going to have to figure it out on your own when it's so easy to just explain this stuff somewhere. Or put it in a better environment for people to learn. All right, so that's Russia. S300s, put your planes above so that you can spot the stealth. Put your planes above to stop the bombers and the seed runners that are going to come in and try and kill your AA. And then once you have that dome over your units, artillery, push them out. That's Russia. United States. You have to stop Russia from doing that. So first things first, eyes. You've got your Global Hawk, and you've got your insanely useful 170. 150 points for both. Russia's counter to that is its air power. So you need to find a way to get your planes and to get your packs somewhere so that you can kill the planes that are coming out to kill your drones. Here's the situation, though. It is a guaranteed counter. Because how many shots does it take to kill a 170? 1. How many shots does it take to kill a Global Hawk? From 1 R37, of which Russia gets 1 million. 1.
Just 1.
Even if they just get spotted, S300 is going to kill it. It's going to one-shot it. So there's your 150 points gone, and you've made no progress. There's your 150 points gone, and you've made no progress. But that is the start. So you spot, because especially if the S300 is shot, make sure you have where they are. Or another way of doing it is you send the cheapest plane that you can to bomb something, and your usefulness out of that situation is not just the bombs. Obviously, pick a good target. Is not just the bombs, but where did that AA shoot? Once you know where that AA is shooting, this is your gameplay. This is the priority at the moment. Once you know where that AA is shooting, what?
Then the plane comes in?
No. The plane is the bait. So pick a target to bomb. Hopefully the bombs go off. But even if the bombs don't go off, if the S300 is shooting, you know where the S300 is now. That's basically it. So you need to stop those S300s. You go to HIMARS because they got the 6,000. And with the cluster, you'll probably hit the supply depot that's behind it. Don't use ATACMs. Don't use PRSM. They can get intercepted. They're going to get intercepted. Don't use them. You need to use cluster. If you want, you can use HE. Cluster's more effective. Other thing is M270. You get longer range and you get more with these warheads. And if you do Armored Stryker, which is a very good deck, you've got your because at the end of the day too, while all of this is happening, you're going to need to also be pushing on the ground. You're going to need to. So Strikers, very good. Tanks, very good. This is going to be a very fun deck. I didn't get to use it once because my teammates never realized about the other stuff. So I was always doing artillery and I was always doing air, and I was testing a lot of stuff too.
Yeah.
But I never got to use this. Not to mention the bookers with this genuinely is this might be my favorite deck eventually if I can start playing it, because you've got the Seps, you've got the 50mm Bookers, you've got the Strikers. Ground and Pound, this is going to be a really cool deck. Anyway, more ammo with the M270s. So then you need people that are doing the M270s, that are doing the HIMARS to counter the AA. You need that. That's the gameplay involved. So you need to stop Russia from doing that. And you need to be countering. The problem is you have less long-range SAMs. So Russia's counter to American artillery is also their snowball, because they're owning the air. They have more effective seed to take out your SAMs, and then all they need to do is properly time it and be waiting to see when you are shooting these. Bomber comes in, cab 1500s, maybe something stronger, your artillery's gone. Repeatedly that happened. You got to shoot it at some point. It takes a while to shoot. It takes a while to move. And if they, there's other gameplay involved too. It takes a proper AA net. But Russia is in a much easier position to stop you than you are to them. Yes, you can get some sneaky HIMARS, especially when they're on wheels, to taking out some S300s. But if there's enough of them, it's not going to end up making a difference. And if they're microing them, it's not going to make a difference, as in moving them, not just turning their radar off. So that is phase 2 of the United States. So if you are able to get your artillery out there, you are good. If you're able to keep your SAMs alive, you are good. But you need to be... One of these specs need to be on multiple players. You either are armored or you're a striker. Those are the only 2 specs that you can get these packs. Everything else, you're fucked. Airborne, sure, you have the AMRAM, you have the SLAM rams. They're absolute paper, and you only get 4 of those missiles, and they don't have the same range. They're good, but at the same time, it's like you're adding less to the effectiveness of the United States. So anyway, that's phase 2. Phase 3 is you push through. So you do need those tanks. You need that infantry. So you have the USSF, which is stealthier. They're sneakier. They're better. So U.S. Special Forces, with their Javelins, with their Stingers, with their Ranger squads, they can push through. They are better infantry. You ground and pound. You win on the ground. Which, small tangent here, is also funny because isn't that supposed to be Russia? Isn't the ground and pound like the waves of vehicles and infantry? Isn't that supposed to be Russia?
Definitely be Russia, yeah. Well, I would say, okay, so based on like current doctrines, Russia should be ground and pound, infantry, mechanized, just send it forward. America should be like more air, more stealth, more specialized units, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. No, it does.
That's how it feels to me, at least.
100%.
Like longer range for America, more brute force for Russia.
And you want to know what's funny about that? That is in the game, but you want to know where it is? It's the points. So yes, we have our specialized things, but they're fucking expensive. So while you need to win on the ground with your pushing forces, that's all your fucking points. So who's spending the points on these AA nets, and who's spending the points on this artillery, and who's spending the points on these planes, if you also need to buy the Strikers and the tanks and the infantry, the super expensive infantry, to push forward? That's just the highest level gameplay that you could possibly have. You need to be perfect. You need to keep everything alive. Everything. Even the infantry, just down to the infantry. You need to keep everything supplied, too. You don't have that much information. You need that much ammunition, I mean. Mm-hmm. You need to be microing. You need to be moving your Patriots. You need to be moving your HIMARS. You need to be moving your artillery. And they're looking for your tanks, too, which a lot of these are lighter. These can easily get killed by ATGM planes, which if they own the sky, they can come in and do. They can get easily killed by ATGM helicopters, which if you don't have your SHORAD in the right place because you have less of it, because you don't have Panzers, you don't have Cessnas, you have a couple of Stryker SHORADs, and you have a couple, if you're armored, Stryker or SHORAD Bradleys. Those are the only things that can effectively snipe unless you have a sneaky Stinger up in the front. So you have to counter the S-300s with their artillery. You hope that you can counter their air. That's still iffy. Patriots can do their job. The thing is when are they going to get hit by their smirches once they shoot once? Or when are they going to get bombed? Or when are they going to get seed? It's pretty soon. It's going to be pretty soon.
If you just move them, yeah. So microing AA is quite. It's doable if you know what you're doing. So whenever I see a drone flying, I just think, okay, if I turn on my radar, I have to move after because they're gonna either RD or they're gonna send a seaplane. But most people won't know how to do that most effectively because even if you turn off the radar after the missile went out, it's gonna go to your last known location of the AA unit. So if you didn't turn it off and moved it, you're still gonna get hit. So for America, that's a very costly 305 points, like you're showing, and you just lost your only Patriot on the map, basically.
You get 2 for 305 points. The most effective, you get 2.
Yeah. But then you get the Buck M3s, which already fire 2 at one target without the upgrade.
Yeah.
So there's a bit of imbalance in that sense as well.
You get cheaper.
So the Buck M3 for 200 points. 200 points. You get the double missile, so multi-target.
Yeah. Well, I actually have the M3. 200 is M3, 150 is M2.
Oh, yeah. So 150, you get you get a multi-target still. That's crazy.
And you get 6 instead of 4.
And you can get 3 Buck M2, so even if you get seated, you still have 2 still up and running.
Yeah, with a bit longer range, too.
So there's a bit of tinkering, I would say.
For cheaper. In the same deck that you can get the S300s and Pantsers. And Deravitsias or Sosnas.
Yeah, I'm looking at VDV
more
Mechanized
Sosnas
right now, but yeah, if you combine it with those, that's nuts. That's pretty good.
In one deck,
I got Pantsers and Sosnas and Buck M2s in this one.
Yeah, in a single deck, you get up to 8 Sosnas, or you can get 4 Sosnas, 4 Deravitsias, because they're on different platforms. The Tors showed up with some of those playtesters, because if you turn the radar on, those will snipe helicopters.
I like the Tor. Tor was fun. Yeah. I just like how the missile goes. That's why I kind of like it.
This Russian armored mechanized is fucking bonkers, dude.
I need to build that one for sure.
Yeah. TLDR. Those are the winning strategies. Russia, you can snowball. You will get there eventually. US, you need to stop them while also playing the game. you need to push forward on the ground as the United States. You need to stop them from building up their S-300s. You need to stop them from protecting those S-300s with the planes in the sky. And if you let them do that, they'll put artillery on the ground that's just going to sweep you, and they'll push through with ground vehicles. US, you need to get eyes up with your drones. You need to try to control the air in order to stop them from the S-300s, because the most effective way to stop their S-300s are, for some reason, bombing them with stealth planes. So something, if that wasn't clear before, I don't know if I actually said the sentence here. The most effective seed in the game is not seed. It's stealth planes with bombs. They will make it to the target as long as it's not, the charge on Osgiliath in terms of S-300s. And sometimes they still, even then, sometimes they still get through. Hell, there's some games where even if it was Osgiliath, there were some. There's this deck, these Strike Eagles, which only have 10% ECM, but they do have 6 of these 500s. Sometimes they were getting through. Sometimes it's just busy enough for them, or maybe they're just a couple of them are reloading or something like that. You can make it through. But the most effective anti-air for the United States are planes with bombs. They just are. So keep them as cheap as possible. Send in a cheap one. Send in a seed behind it, because if what is also possible, which still something that still exists, is something the tactic that I mentioned before a couple of weeks ago, where if you send in a seed plane and then you just kind of YOLO it, you keep flying forward, the SAM missile will start to engage the plane at some point. So if it's engaging the plane, it can't engage the missile. Unless it's something crazier that has all the multi-target stuff, in which case it can. Chances are it will at this point, but it still does work from time to time, especially if you send multiple planes. So you'll see on this deck here, I've got 4 of these F-16s with the 4 harms. You put up maybe you get a sneaky recon, maybe you get a sneaky drone. You get actual eyes on that SAM system. You right-click it. It will send 2 missiles at that SAM system. If you do that while also sending HIMARS or a plane to actually specifically bomb that unit, it'll work. It'll get through. You can get unlucky. you can lose all those planes, which there's gameplay involved. There's RNG involved. Hopefully you're also pushing on the ground, or hopefully you have some other teammates that had a bit more success somewhere else. But that is the most effective way at stopping them, is you go in and bomb them. Or that's the most efficient way at stopping them. Yes, you can send up a F-16 with 2 harms, and for some reason or another, they get through and they kill an S-300. Congratulations. That's not what happens 99% of the time. It's just not. I tested it thoroughly against people that set up a proper AA net, which is also the case here in this too. And it's also why worry is a strong word that I mentioned earlier, because when you are playing against Joe Schmo, not playtesters that have been playing for weeks already, that are still trying to figure out the units, maybe this works more often. But that is 31 games worth of information and testing that I got to do. And that is my strong opinion of the state of the two nations in the game and the state of the specs. Russia, winning strategy, snowball. US winning strategy, stop Russia from snowballing and win on the ground. And it breaks down with the way that we broke it down there. That's everything that I wanted to talk about. So if you want to, we're at an hour and 16 minutes here. If you want to keep going, we can, and we can kind of pinpoint some stuff. If you want to try and poke some holes in some things, we can keep going.
So I've been seeing yesterday. Was it yesterday, the match? No, it was the one before. We played America. Well, I played America. It was a Thursday. We saw some armored columns. I was playing infantry. There was a bunch of T90s, T72s, all like arena, active defense, that kind of stuff. A couple of T15s. It felt like they were less of a threat to infantry. I had to fall back, sure, do a retreat, get into a better position. But it didn't feel like, quote unquote, the old days, where they could just immediately delete you and just keep moving. How do you find that?
I really don't think it is the old days anymore. I think infantry are significantly stronger. I think there was a couple of times where I was trying to make a point, and I did get one game in where so you'll see the gameplay of this eventually. Where what deck was it? This one? It was this one. See how there's 6 tool pans in here? I got all 6 of them. So in the gameplay, what I did was what happened to you yesterday happened to me, where I was playing with just playtesters. There was like 3 or 4 other playtesters on my team, and they just didn't play anywhere but that point. I think it was A. Was it the one on the left on Baltisk?
Yes.
They literally quad stacked A without saying a word about it. It's just like that was the plan always. So all 4 of them went to A, annihilated it. I went middle for the high ground there on Baltisk and was completely alone. And then the other like 3 people on the other team basically wrapped around me and killed all my shit because I had nothing. I was completely alone, and I didn't even realize like that was the case. There's no recon or whatever. It's just they swarmed me. So what my team did to A, the other team did to me. It's like because there was 3 of them over there, and I just didn't have enough to stop them. After that, I think I even said in the recording, I'm like, what is happening? What world is this? I was so confused and like frustrated, like what the fuck is going on? Because this is just like I just don't see that happening in any other games. I'm like, why does this keep happening to me? In particular, I'm just like, fuck this. I literally did not call in a single other unit for like 20 minutes. I saved 3,000 points. Game's still ongoing. 3,000 points. I bought all of these S300s. Actually, the deck might have changed a little bit. Maybe not. I bought both S300s. I bought all my Panzers. I bought some Derevitias. I bought the Buck. Full AA net. Fully supplied. I bought these with like 5,000 or 6,000 points for all of them. Full, dedicated, heavy AA net on the ground. Still had like 2,000 points. So I bought all 6 toll pans. I bought some T15s. And I had the SU-27 ready to go. Moved the T-15s up to the front line. The toll pan's right behind it. If they were able to push through, they would have run into the T-15, so I would have had a little bit of warning. I shot all 6 toll pans at once. It was completely devastating. It was utterly just just you can imagine. You've seen what 2 or 3 of these could do. These were 6. It only took about 2 volleys for them to attempt to artillery spam me. I just simply moved them after shooting just one. But guess what? Just one salvo is 6. So it's going to get the job done, whatever you want to do. Point of me bringing this up was a lot of those times it was infantry in buildings. Even when 6 of these hit around them, chances were that infantry unit was not dead. They were panicked out of their brains, and there might have been, if it was like a squad of 8, there might have been 2 or 3 left, but they weren't dead. They survived that. If there were vehicles were dead. If there was supply was gone. But they weren't dead. Moved it again. They tried to I shot it once. They tried to artillery spam, but it missed because I moved it. Then they tried to air spam it, like full on. They definitely coordinated. There was probably 2 or 3 of them who were like, "Oh, I'll send seed, I'll send bombs, I'll send cruise missiles, go." Completely stopped everything. Every single plane got shot down because of the S-300s. Every single cruise missile got shot down because of the Pantsers, and the bombs missed anyway because I moved them again already. It's like it's too easy. The understanding of this stuff is too easy, and you cannot stop it. You can't. So now instead of them trying to play the game, because again, I'm just one person on the team, because they're trying to counter this because it will make you win, they're not paying attention to the other stuff. Meanwhile, all my teammates are moving and playing the game normally. They're pushing it on the ground. We end up winning. Like, we completely annihilated. Completely. Everything died. We were even up in their spawn. At the end of the game, I had a couple of T-15s on their spawn road. That's what it turned into. So, infantry are stronger, but there's other issues. There's other problems. There's new problems.
There's some new shape.
And afterwards, they did not agree that that this is too much. They didn't. So I don't know what world we're living in where that's not. But go ahead.
So I think when there's 20 voices and 18 of them have been enjoying the current units without worrying too much about what the general player base will think, and 2 people are worried about it, people will listen to the 18 voices, right? But when the game is live and thousands upon thousands of people are trying or testing the game, even big content creators are testing the game, and their viewers are seeing if there is a certain imbalance, then the voices will increase, and then the developers will listen. So it is it's a worry for the first couple weeks of the game. But I think they just need to see it from the perspective of the global player base that they released the game to, and not from testers. But I do think they should just listen to certain testers a bit more than others, especially if certain testers only play the game the same way every time, regarding what they use, disregarding if they play America or Russia. But yeah, I mean, I would say your worries are valid. They'll just have to see for themselves when everyone gives an opinion on the game.
Yeah, and this is kind of the thing that I wanted to bat off of your brain, and maybe we can have this be the last topic for today, because as much as I used that word worry, and as much as my tone sounded like this is like I'm frustrated or something, in reality and it's something I tried to say enough as much as I could, was that there's still gameplay involved. Like, tanks still kill things, sure. Planes still bomb things, seed missiles still work, AMRAAMs still work. There's gameplay involved.
Not like one is OP and other gameplay doesn't make any sense anymore. There's still counters,
It just seemed like this is hardlined, and in the essence of the ability to get to the win point, it's very it seems too obvious and it seems too different. So it's just it's weird. It doesn't feel good, but at the same time, there's plenty of room for it to make sense, and there's plenty of room for it to eventually feel good, because you're not always going to be in the position that I was in with playing the playtesters. You're not always going to be in a position of playing people that even just know the game or know what we just explained, which everybody that's listening right now knows and is probably going to attempt when we get actually to that point. But, there's always going to be the seed missile. There's always going to be RNG. RNG is always going to have a say in that stuff. So there's room for it. It's not doomer. It's not like the game's ruined or anything like that. It just and especially when I voice these concerns and the devs are just like, no, this is fine. But clearly there's something wrong here. There's something that is bad. Something that it feels wrong. But what's the, if the game works, like, fuck it. Like, I guess we just go forward kind of a thing. I don't know. I don't exactly know. I don't. My brain's a mess with all of this. But as long as somebody else thinks that there's something wrong here, or that there could be there's more work to be done in terms of the balance or the way that the game works, which if you agree or disagree, let me know. That's really all I wanted to know. So you now know what I know. Everybody listening now knows what I know in terms of the state of the game. I just want to know, is that a problem? If it is, how do we talk to the devs about it? If it's not a problem, call me crazy and get in line with everybody else that's calling me crazy. So we're good to go. But what do you think in general? And we'll have that be a closing topic, unless you want to bring something else.
Yeah. I think there's definitely I think I would agree 50%, I would say. So I look at it in a different perspective. So the 2 games I did, it was fine, right? But you've done more games, you know more about what is the current situation around certain units and their balancing. Yeah, I think things need to be looked at to make it more equal and more balanced, and focus needs to be more on the fun parts, not sweaty, you have to do this in order to win or have fun kind of game. So in my opinion, too much artillery takes the fun out of a game. So in my opinion, it should be reduced a bit, and they just have to, I think in general, it just comes down to what I said earlier. They just need to see what the general public thinks and then adjust it to that. But because it doesn't really matter what we 20 people think, right? So I think they just need to see what the general player base thinks, and then they have to make adjustments. Otherwise, you alienate 80-90% of your player base. If they think RD's too much and you don't change it, that's not good in general for player retention. Or people will flock to a modded version of the game.
True. There's avenues for fixing it.
And yeah. Well, yeah, that could be maybe our next topic, the modability and scenario editor and that kind of stuff. That could be cool.
Yeah, we can bring that. It depends on what they might do, some kind of debrief, maybe able to do some kind of press release or something.
True.
And I'll have my gameplay up so that we have some proper understanding of this stuff. But
yeah, no, I think that's my kind of 2 cents for that one. I think balancing needs to be done for sure, and just the gameplay experience need to be enhanced with balancing and not the other way around. Like, gameplay shouldn't have to be done one way or the other in order to circumvent certain imbalances between units or unit types.
Yeah. I'm glad that we have the opinions that we have, so it's not just one-sided in the whole thing. And I did want to just last time make it clear, is like, game's cool. There's a lot of cool stuff going on. And most of the things that I brought up, it's only going to be a problem at the top level, which isn't going to happen for most of the games. But the reason why I'm worried about it is because it'll get there eventually. People watch YouTube videos. People play the game. This has only been a couple hundred hours. It's only a matter of time until people figure out, just like, oh, this is the best unit. People are going to figure out what I know right now, and then it's going to become a mainstay. It's going to become that's the name of the game. So it's probably not the end of the world that this stuff doesn't get changed in the short term, and maybe it does anyway with mods. You brought up a good point. Maybe it does get changed with mods. So that would be something interesting. So, guys, give us your thoughts. Am I just blabbering? Is this? Am I just yapping? Is everything fine? Maybe it is. Game was still cool. Got a lot of gameplay out of it, so we posting that.
Yeah.
And
the double nuke, bro.
The double nuke. Well, at least Bolt has that. I don't have that on recording. There was literally one game. There was literally one game. I not that I forgot. I actually misclicked. I hit the virtual replay or whatever it was.
F10 instead of Alt F9.
No, I manually click it on my stream PC, and I literally just missed the button. I hit the one underneath it. Luckily, I didn't do that more often. I've got literally every other game, but the last, and it was Bolt's last game too, where we were playing together, and it ended up being a really cool game. And of course, I don't have it, but Bolt does, so you guys should watch that. When are you gonna post that? Do you know?
I'm kind of thinking of it, so maybe I should do first the single player games and then some deck reviews, and then save this for a bit later. Like the last kind of big hit. Something that in the coming 2 weeks, I would say.
Something we could do, and this is something I was gonna just soak as much as I possibly could out of the videos that I got for the 2 months, is we could co-commentate, because a lot of those games, especially the
cool.
ones where I was playing with people that don't speak English or people that weren't even in the
Yeah.
Discord call, there was no talking. I wasn't commentating. I was trying to focus and I was trying to set stuff. So there's a lot of these games don't have commentary.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can co-commentate it, or you could talk about stuff. I could even pause it. There could be a lot of stuff done there.
That could be dope.
Yeah. Generally speaking, a lot of fun. Broken Arrow is still Broken Arrow. It's gonna be cool. We got 2 months to wait. Fingers crossed they do some other test. I'm not so confident they will be doing another one, but the release is still in June. Until then, we got all the content we just mentioned. That's gonna do it for Debrief. If you guys are looking for the previous episodes, go ahead and check below. Make sure you watch Bolt's channel for his gameplay. Like we already mentioned, there's going to be a game going up there that I didn't have recorded that was potentially the coolest and most interesting game we had of the entire test, and we're both in it. So stay tuned to Bolt's channel, link below as well, for checking that out. Otherwise, we'll talk to you guys soon. That was a Debrief podcast. Hope you have a nice day. See you guys.